Welcome back. Picking up where we left off last time, I was about to take the car out for a test drive. If I did do that, I'm not going to show it online. Anyway, this video is about getting that engine running because it wasn't running properly, and then installing an intercooler spray bottle. I want to clean up the engine bay, but I'll explain it all. And I think the second half of the video is probably the better half. Look, again, getting slightly more fancy. I hope you guys enjoy it because it's I'd be keen to make more of these.
All right, new day today. The aim today is to try and get this beast running a bit better. It's currently coming up with a couple of fault codes. The TPS, we've got the airflow meter, and also the knock sensor. I'm going to concentrate on the knock sensor first and then maybe the airflow meter, although I haven't figured out if there's any big air leaks in here yet. I'm still waiting for my midi-vac, which is like a pressure pump, and it'll tell me if it's holding pressure or not. We've also ordered a real cheap smoke leak detector from Temu, so we'll see how that goes. But the knock sensor I pulled off because I was getting a dodgy reading between the single pin in the plug and the earth on the engine. It may not be a fault with this, it may just be my connection with my multimeter that I've got, but I'm putting a new one in because I want to run a new knock sensor anyway. This is the first test, should be about 560 kilo ohms. Currently reading 570, and the wiring, moving it around, seems good. So the sensor's probably not the issue, but it is, 27 years old, so I want to put it in with a, replace it with a new one. Yep, same one, so we'll see what this measures up as. Yeah, 560, much closer. I'll show you the wiring, what I'm dealing with at the moment. So if someone's been in here and like done some real average work here. This one up here, which I'm pretty sure is a fuel pump, the earth to the fuel pump relay, which is what I was having issues with right from the start. So what I'm going to do is test the knock sensor wiring from the ECU to the plug. I think it's supposed to be shielded, which I'm guessing in here there's one wire that looks, I don't know if it's standard or not. It's on here. So I'm guessing that that's the shielded knock sensor, but we shall find out soon. Knock sensor on the EJ is to the left of the throttle body, and it's right down in there. A little bit difficult to get to, but not impossible. So I used to be a mechanic. I was one for like 10 years. Honest truth is I'd never claimed to be the best, but I did not know that knock sensors are supposed to be put back in the same orientation. So this is 60 degrees, which is effectively looking at, on the right-hand drive, the driver's side. But yeah, that's something I didn't know. I just picked it up last night when I was trying to do a little bit of Googling on these knock sensors. Oh man, this engine's so rough. I've just found like, a random old bolt. Down here there's a bolt that's been snapped off in the block, which holds, it's the heater core pipe. And then there's another one down here which holds the fuel rail to the intake. That bolt's completely missing, so I'm looking forward to pulling this thing down and look around and fixing a whole bunch of things. Alright, so I managed to get that started and slowly wind that in. How's that looking angle-wise? Pretty good. Alright. Okay, so these are also supposed to be done up to 24 Newton meters, which I do not have my torque wrench with me, so I'm just going to do it up and using these little tiny 1/4 inch. That's all I've got. So I've got that and a 1/2 inch. I don't have my 3/8 there. So I'm just going to do this up. Make sure the plug's not fouling, which it's not hitting the block. All right. So we're just going to do that, and then when I pull the engine apart, I will do it properly. Yeah, cool. So that's in, and that's for the TPS. And then we have one more plug back here somewhere, which I think is the purge valve for the fuel tank. All right. We'll go test the ECU side and make sure that we've got the wiring on that side's good. I'm trying to sort out this knock sensor. It's a EJ20 diagnostic file. It seems mostly right. Pin 72 definitely is the knock sensor. Yeah, so 72 is this pin here, which I've just put the multimeter in. And then it should read 0 ohms. So this is just connecting, checking the connection between the ECU and this plug here, which plugs into the knock sensor. I did measure it, and it is coming up as 0.6 of an ohm. Yeah, 0.6. So if I go back, so 0.5, drop down to 0.5. If I go back and just measure the resistance between these two leads, because they generally always show something. if it's 0.6 or 0.5. Yeah, so it's the same. There's a really good connection between the ECU and the knock sensor, which is good. So the wiring's good. So let's just see if that new knock sensor makes a difference. Intercooler is on. Now we're just gonna run it, see what happens. No check engine light so far. I haven't figured out what's wrong with the rev counter yet. I think there's something mechanically wrong with it because this is really stiff to move. And someone's been in there before because the temperature gauge is clearly not working because it's cold. I've got to go maybe check the sender. But that whole part of the cluster was actually out. So I've just put it back in and I've found this extra needle which it's clearly not working because there's about a third of a tank of fuel in there. Speedo does work though, which is surprising.
After installing that new knock sensor, the engine revved out fine. So the issue was with the old one, that 10,000 kilo ohms, which I didn't think mattered, obviously was the big issue. The next thing I moved on to was the cooling system. The radiator cap had a small crack in it. It wasn't holding any pressure whatsoever. Once I had replaced that, I was getting some pressure, but there was a leak from the top radiator hose, which was an easy fix, just tightening up a radiator hose and it was done. I jacked up the car, drained the coolant, and then removed the temperature sensor because it was reading normal operating temperature when it was dead cold. Using an EJ20 diagnostic file which I found online, the sensor is supposed to be reading 2,500 ohms at 20 degrees. My camp cookers come in handy here. I've filled it up with water, heated it up, and then used the temperature probe, which is included in my multimeter, to bring it up to temperature to 20 degrees. Once the sensor's been in there for a while and it's stabilized, I went to go test it with the multimeter.
Alright, take that out. The diagnostic document doesn't actually say which pin to test, but I had to play around with it before, and it looks like the only one that make any sense is this bottom pin. I'm assuming these 3 pins are something to do with a 2-stage fan from the ECU, but we'll see what that comes up as. So that's reading 0.7 kilo ohms, 0.73. 0.73 would be somewhere between 50 and 90 degrees. Yeah, so that's why it's running hot. So I'm assuming this is my issue. If I go get another one, I'm hoping the temperature gauge should read accurate.
Unfortunately, I don't have any more video on this subject. I did go to the scrapyard and find myself a second-hand sensor, but the issue is that it still read the same thing. I think the issue is that the dash is the original one and the engine is not. I think the dash is expecting to see a different sensor. That's what I'm assuming, and the fact that is I'm probably not going to be running this engine in this car. I want to move on to an engine that's slightly more modern, so it's got full cam control, so that's something that I'll be talking about in the future. But for the time being, I'm just going to shelf this project and just leave it be, and I'll deal with it later. I may end up replacing the dash with a full digital one, but we'll have to wait and see. Now we're going to move on to the fun part of this video, which is installing the 12-litre intercooler tank, and it's going in the boot.
So this afternoon's mission is to fit that into this car. Part of the project that I want to do is clean out this engine bay. Normally what sits in here is an intercooler spray bottle that runs through a pump and then sprays water onto the intercooler. What I really want to do, I remember seeing one of these as a kid and thought it was pretty cool. One, because I had no idea what it was at the time. That is a 12-litre intercooler bottle, which in some Subarus fits behind the back seat. So that is what I'm fitting. I've already pulled this apart. I have had a quick look at it. So what comes with it is that unit there, pump, and then the level sensor as well. So I've got to plug that into the original wiring into the car, which I'll have to modify. And the other part that came with it were these 2 bits here, and I've already started chopping into this one. But on the original car, they obviously, have to excuse my shoddy fuel line. The car that it's designed for is a pretty similar setup to this, but obviously the brackets don't fit. I have to modify them. I am gonna attach them to this bar, chop this off, and I'm gonna build my own plate. So one here and then one here. I love using original mounting screws and points. So this one here on this car is actually not utilized. I don't know what they've been put in for, but I'm going to use that one, which has already got a welded nut on the back of it, or a threaded nut. And then this one here, I'll weld a nut to the back of it. And I've made a cardboard aided design pattern, which is this bad boy here. So that is effectively going to replicate this piece here. So we've ditched that. I'm going to cut this out of a 1.6mm thick steel sheet. So this is effectively going to be a bit that's attached to the top of the car, and there'll be a bolt up here, a bolt here, and then this is going to be welded. Well, it's actually going to be welded on the other side. And then I'm going to modify the length of this to fit, and then drill and attach a weld nut in here. I'm just going to cut it out with a jigsaw and then touch it up with a file and then see how we go. So that's the plan for tonight. Get that installed into here. Cool, so I've made the first one, and I've just gone to double check that it does fit on the right side and the left side. All I have to do is flip it around. So this is going to fit in here between number one hole and the second one here, and then the bar is going to come down here, and then it'll be attached to this side here as well. And then this side, which is the same, between those two holes, and then the other bar is going to be welded to this, and then same thing down here, and then to that bar and then this bar, the actual 12 litre tank attaches to it. Let's go make up number 2 of this. Update. This is stuff up number 1 of the job. I had this bracket facing the wrong way when I drilled the first hole, and you could see that I've made a stuff up here. I thought, that's fine, I'll just flip it over and put it on this side. But I had exactly the same problem. It was out by a few mil, so I've just slotted this one, and when I put a washer on it, no one's gonna know unless any of you guys, see this video, but I'm just gonna leave it. Maybe I'll fix it later on, but probably not. So I've cut both these lengths, which is about 420 mil. There's 370 degree centers between the mounting points for the intercooler tank. What I'm going to do is mark this in place, cut the holes in here to size, 2 6mm bolts through here, and then I'll drill this. Let's get this done and go home. Mostly in. Only thing I've got to do is weld a nut to these 2 points here. This is pretty much the finished placement. Ooh, and I got these laser welded. Yeah, it looks awesome. It's the first time I've had anything laser welded, and I think I'm going to try and stick to it. Looks neat. I actually drilled and used pop rivets. Yeah, that held it together while they tacked it, removed it, and then they plugged the welds up. I had this hole here plugged up as well because that was horribly in the wrong spot. Yeah, exciting. Right, that's in place. Yeah, seems real good. 12 litre intercooler tank is in. It looks really good, I reckon. When I get that back of the seat put in, it'll look totally factory. I mean, not the hardest thing to put in, but that's one part of the project that I was excited to do. Yeah, stoked. So next thing I wanted to install was this bad boy. I don't know what it cost, but it was pretty cheap. I've run the same one in my rally car before, so I know that they work. It's just a little washer bottle for the windscreen that I want to replace. I want to get it out of the engine bay to sort of clean it up. And I found a really good place for it, but it doesn't quite fit. Also, I'd lose the use of my jack, my spare wheel, which I would really ideally love to keep. In the back of the GC, this is where the jack goes. And I wanted to fit this in here. It's like a perfect fit in there. I don't want to lose my jack, and it doesn't quite fit if we push it into the guard. But then I had a realization that the guards that I'm putting on, they're going to be a lot wider here. So I don't know how far they will, but hopefully by this point they'll come out a bit. And then that way this whole steel guard's going to go. I'm going to chop it out, and then this here should fit, and hopefully that'll fit straight in there. Originally I was thinking, if I push this tank over to one side it might fit, like say down here, but it was never going to happen, it wouldn't have fit. So I feel like that's the perfect place for it, but I can't mount it until I get that wide body on.
Okay, that's going to be the end of the third one, but thank you for coming along for the ride. If you have any comments, please drop them below. I'll be real keen to read them and see what I can do to improve. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll catch you guys later.